Rebecca remembers footprints, hers upon the sand, and such a wind it blew right through her hair, and running, racing down the beach, and laughing, long hair flying. Rebecca remembers, in the half-dark sand, silt weigh heavy on her limbs. These pictures, dreams, are silver fish that slip just for a moment out from under. Sand, silt, weigh heavy, deep. My memories of her live in fragments, the full moments ripped away from me in the mind's effort to spare me the grief. There's flashes of a cheeky smile, blue eyes poking out from behind Rapunzel hair, and nights spent at each other's houses. There's memories of hiding behind curtains under duvets in an effort to steal away a few more moments together. I remember the chocolate factory dream, the wish to stay together, same house, matching husbands, never apart. There's the pink t-shirt that now sits atop my highest shelf, worn and stained with drops of hair dye and small holes. It still smells so keenly of home, and it bears an inscription, Dream for Rebecca. The faint memory of running in races to send her to Disneyland written in white across its back. I remember a princess, the very one that sat on the flyer which provided me the words of her diagnosis. I've repeated those words in my mind like a mantra since I was 9 years old. There's still the lingering feeling of childish innocence, the lack of understanding, believing in my naivety that her death could come only of old age. I remember the sight of birds, owls perched upon people's shoulders in their fluffy glory while she made me hold a hawk. Sat next to me with a smile that says, I got you to hold the scariest bird, her sense of cheeky little humour. I remember a windowed room, the conservatory, the elite safe haven it became, and the petty fights it started as we struggled to grapple with the thought that the decision of her company was not ours alone. And I remember how she slipped away from me that first time. The memory of her house, though, is a clear one. A wheelchair encased in walls I could still to this day paint from memory. The joyful sound she'd let out as you'd enter, her words stolen away by the cruel hand of her illness, but still a happiness so profound that even through her pain she'd show you the sun. Flashes of cinema trips and petting zoos dart behind my eyes just out of reach, overwhelmed by the sick feeling I'd get in the pit of my stomach at the thought of the lack of her voice. How I'd mourn our bickering, left to never again hear disagreement from her lips. As I grow older, I feel my memories twist and warp with guilt. Thoughts of my gradual absence, a dead mum no longer able to arrange my visits for me, an adult at 12. Then I remember the monotonous days, months turning to years, staying away in the effort to save her from the virus, then keeping away from fear, becoming caught in a prison of my own thoughts, believing I'd be hated by her and family alike for staying away, only to be welcomed back into that living room with open arms and immediately grieving all of that time I let slip away. There's an 18th birthday spent in guilty tears, the choking, suffocating feeling that I had abandoned my friend for selfish gain, merely a taster of the self-loathing grief I felt. A grief that kept me anchored to the brown leather chair for a month, kept me glued in the same clothes a living zombie. Then fresh in my mind is the funeral, tainted so by anger. Anger at the obnoxious celebrant, anger at the absence of her school friends, anger at the burning tears in my own eyes, all nothing. Merely a reflection of my own self-hatred, my own absence, my own failures. And now, as my memories begin to slip and fade, I cling so tightly to the physical, to the relics she left behind for me. I find her in the bracelet that has yet to part with my wrist since I was 13, in the teddies bought for me that still live in my bed, in Woollerton, my drive home from uni, her house a living reminder of how I failed her, in Norfolk, where we scattered Mum's ashes and where now Rebecca swims through the waves in my mind as the mermaid she so longed to be. And I remember how when she died, my childhood went with her. So now as I sit and look back, I remember, and I pray each day that I may keep just this one at least, that I may remember the day she decided to talk to the lonely little girl sat on the buddy bench in Foundation, and how I gained everything that day. A best friend, a partner in crime, and the forgiving love of that smiley little girl.
On your shoulders, by the bind, by the rope, by the cloth, by the deep of the dark, of the black, of the secret of the dark, of the deep of your heart, by the slate, by the flint, by the chalk, in the sand, weight the plumb, sink the line, call the mark. Unstitch the beam from your back, let eyes look at the black of the deep of your heart. Slip off the knots in the splints on your hands, pick the yarn, fray the rope, tear the cloth. Pull from your throat, one by one, all the rocks, all the stones, wash the grit from your tongue. Water flows past the silt, through the dark, gleams the slate, holds the salt, takes the weight, carries song.